Hi everyone, this is Eileen Burns from Spiritual Marketing Club and Stress Coach Training. Now, in today's video, I'm going to talk about why I believe that in 2021, light workers need to start being more light warriors. And what does that actually mean? And how we can move forward with some of the current challenges that many of us spiritual entrepreneurs are facing with the big C. And what do I mean by the big C? Well, let's say, I'll say the rest, censorship, okay? So I probably, the bots, the Google bots, the YouTube bots will probably pick this up, but as light workers, and anyone who is running a spiritual business, anyone who's a heartbeat-based business, who believes in, running their business from a heart place or a soul-based place, you may be finding yourself at the moment having all sorts of challenges in your business, okay? You may not. You may not be as impacted by what is going on in society, or even by social media and by the sort of stances that a lot of companies are taking at the moment. But the reality is, many of us who come into the spiritual sector or the holistic sector are the front line for many people who are struggling at the moment. And I believe, unfortunately, that is going for some countries and for some areas in the world, there is going to be other challenges that people are going to face. In fact, around the world, where the world's waking up in many ways, we're starting to see things. People who never, were a wee bit naive to circumstances or to their surroundings or to what's going on in front of them, are going to go through a period of what we call cognitive dissonance. And we've seen that already with what's went on in 2020. And coming through cognitive dissonance and getting to the other end creates all sorts of emotions and can create all sorts of challenges for society as a whole. And the reality is, many of us that have come in to be healers, therapists, teachers, many of us who have been working in, towards this work, many of us 30, 40 years even, know how important it is at the moment that we all step up, not just to help people, but to really own our true gifts and what we're really here to do. I believe when we can all tap into where our niche is, what type of clients and what type of expertise we really are good at, our zone of genius, things get so much easier. And also we're able to help clients more effectively. We can help clients quickly, okay? We can help them evolve more quickly and more deeply, okay? When we start going off into different tangents and we're not really offering what we're really here to do or what are our greatest zone of genius, often we are, in some ways we can be selling our clients out because we're not giving them what they really need. Sometimes someone else is their ideal therapist, okay, when we're not doing our zone of genius or we're not giving the best, right? So, but let's put that to the side at the moment. We're in a society at the moment where mainstream media is really trying to control and manipulate people's beliefs, thoughts, ideas, and they're creating a narrative. And no matter what your religious, political, spiritual beliefs are, your beliefs about well-being, about everything that's been on in 2020, no matter what your beliefs are, the reality is media and marketing and all social media platforms are designed to trigger us to behave a certain way. That's the reality. If you look at the way that a film is produced and the way that a film will create certain emotions, create certain excitement, anticipation, certain reactions. These are all being designed because of the colours, the story, the words they use, and even subliminal, all sorts of things that go into subliminal. Now, I was someone that in my early 20s, just before I got so ill that I had to give everything up, I was studying to be a singer. And a lot of the things that we studied was what can go on underneath the layers of music, and we looked at the things that people do, which is not supposed to do, but they do it all the time, is sent us subliminal messages through under music. I know as someone who has had a strong interest in marketing for a long time, also studied colour psychology, colour therapy, colour healing, and a lot of other things. I understand how much marketing is actually goes into, and particularly multimedia marketing, and the way that they're very clever at manipulating people to do things that they would maybe normally not do, because they are feeding into your fears. You feed into, and some of that is used in a positive way, and believe me, a lot of it's not. And unfortunately, when you look at even a lot of things that's went on in 2020 in relation to all sorts of media, not just the news, but what you're being fed. And even if we look at some types of adverts, business adverts, there's different levels of manipulation. That's reality. That's what marketing involves, because you are triggering people to believe something or feel something at that moment, or to remember something, a pain point, to show them the positive point. That's what sells. That's what helps people understand that you're solving a pain point for them. But there is different degrees to that, right? And now what we're seeing is that censorship in a way has actually always been there in the media and whatever. We just haven't seen it. There's been censorship in government, there's been censorship in all sorts of things, and I've just said the word I wasn't going to say, but anyway. The reality is that the world is filled with lots of things that, and government, politicians, big industries, and I'll say the word fan, and then you'll know what's at the end. That's another example, big, right? They are all about making more money. The reality is these are industries, and they're owned by some of the richest people in the world who are only interested in power and control and whatever, right? So we know this, right? But at the moment, what is happening, they're using a certain country, large country, and what you call lots of states, with lots of states, they're using that and using circumstances at the moment to start implementing certain types of even deeper somethingship, right? Dictatorship as well, right? So they're doing certain things and we don't even see it. Well, it's becoming more obvious, but what I'm saying is a lot of other people can't see it. And the reality is this can also polarize people. When people start feeling controlled, disempowered, and there's all sorts of agendas going on there now, and divide, now this is the key here, divide is happening, right? That divide is deliberate. That divide is deliberate to put us in different camps. But the reality, we know that as people, as human beings, we're all in the same camp, right? But that divide, if you look at war and you look at other things, that's what starts. They're starting to try and polarize people, polarize families, polarize relationships, okay? Families, polarize people in workplaces and all sorts of things, right? And no matter what your beliefs are, your political, as I said, religious beliefs and all these other things, when people start taking away people's freedom of speech, freedom to use different things, like look, even I know that I've seen this through the years, slowly and slowly how much big PH has tried to monopolize modern medicine, right? And years ago, when even GPs could actually use certain approaches, that has been, they've been pushed. I know that a lot of even doctors within certain hospitals and things like that get a hard time, even though there is a lot of proof and evidence we know of certain things, right? But that's because someone else has control. Now, we know that's going on. There is more and more things coming on, and it's going to step up. And what we're going to see is more divide, more people confused, stressed, anxious, fearful. Also, we're going to see a situation where some people just want to give up and just give their power away because it's easy. It's easy. We see this in so many things that people stand back, and they find it easier just to stand back and not be involved because it's not affecting them, but it's going to affect everyone. You know, we know that if things don't change, and we know things are positively changed. So that's not what I'm trying to say. But the reality is, as light workers, those of you who are healers, therapists, and even coaches, who are working, and what I mean by the front line in relation to people, the world and the people that are really going to feel their trauma coming up. They're going to suddenly question everything. They're going to suddenly be in situations that they just don't know what to do, and they feel powerless. You need to be able to hold your own light. You need to be able to hold your own truth. And you need to be able to connect with the highest truth, not anyone else's truth, right? Because this is a time when there can be so much confusion and energetic confusion, right? That in the collective, that you start taking on the confusion and not actually learn, if you've not, you know, started to learn to do that, but I would say you learn now how to cultivate that connection to truth and not to rely on all these spiritual teachers, psychics, because it's so easy to give your power away, right? You need to start tapping into your own truth. Never has there been a time where in society, to support other people, is it important for you to hold your own light and be in your own light and clear that connection, so you get a strong connection and are guided, and you're moving yourself from, how can you say, a lot of media information that may polarize you and not be able to be objective as well. Okay, now we've got that. Also, when there is a lot of chaos going on and a lot of people are in wounding and there's a lot of shadow coming up, okay, and a lot of really tribal and, you know, old ancestral stuff coming up, the reality is that we need a bit of the warrior. Now, I'm going to be the first to say, when I used to see lots of Facebook groups, I'm in some, but see, when they used the word light warrior, I didn't like it. It didn't resonate with me. I didn't see myself as a warrior. Now, some people that know me say you actually are a wee bit of a warrior island because you're quite mentally strong. You know, no matter what's going on, you just get up. But I don't see myself as a, I suppose, I've always associated the warrior word as, I don't know, it just didn't. I've realised even in the last couple of years, particularly last year, I kept getting so much guidance that I had to bring more of the warrior energy into my field for a variety of reasons, right? And one of the things that came into me, I think it was about 3 months, it started getting stronger, was the Joan of Arc, right? And I talked about it in one of my groups, that Joan of Arc energy was coming through for me, and I got all these visions, and it was like I was getting messages to really hold Joan of Arc, and I got this to hold, and you know, I can still see it so strongly. One of the most powerful images and messages I got, and it was almost like as if Joan of Arc was inside of me, and she had like I don't even recall that, but it was like a big long stick, and she was holding like a sword, and there was the armor, right? So it was like almost this armor, and there was it was like a light of the cross, right? But it was obviously, I'm not sure what, but it's like a line, like a cross on the Crusaders, I'm sure. But it was like that, and it was this pure white, bright light across. And then it was getting shown as if, like, a kneeling around, but it was as if she was put inside me, and it was going round and like around to. So it was that armor. So it was the armor was going around, as if it was almost like a bit like a hologram, and as if it was all hard, but the energy was moving around, right? And it was this imprint of the shield completely around, okay? And the crosses of the light, so it was completely just a magnificent light. And then I got this image of moving forwards and helping, supporting light workers to move forward, like as the crusader, okay? Now, I got a strong message. It was not about martyrdom, because I, be honest, being highly empathic and an overgiver can, sometimes fall into that martyrdom trait. So it wasn't about martyrdom. It was about holding strength, holding conviction, holding integrity. And I think integrity and ethics, for a variety of reasons, is something I talk about a lot, right? But it was really about really standing in your power. Now, one of the big things that I felt the last few years, that discernment has been really lacking in a lot of the holistic and spiritual industry. And I don't mean it in a bad, and what I mean is the actual culture of the industry has become more about fashionable to make money out of the spiritual industry, rather than people meaning well and thinking they're coming into it, but not being completely spiritually aligned and not applying discernment. And it was interesting. I actually had a blog that had been sitting for 1.5 years, and it was something that I felt that I wanted to write about, but I wasn't getting the words correctly. And also some of it was coming up across judgmental as well. I didn't want that. I was trying to get my own pain and my own shad out to talk about discernment. And since I put that blog out, I've had quite a few people, talk about and say that's been really important, and it's helped them look at something that they knew kind of was important, but they didn't really understand discernment. They didn't know that was the word, right? And what we've seen in 2020 is a lot of things start to come to the surface and start to see where fear can create polar opposites, and fear, and also how we can all have different opinions, but how certain things are seen as bad or good, and it might not be quite like that. But we've also started to see at the end of 2020 where more and more is being unrevealed. So anything that is not completely true, we're starting to see more and more spiritual teachings and things showing up. People who that we maybe admired before or whatever, there's certain things are starting to show up. And that's why I think it's more important than ever that we really tap into our discernment and we ask for guidance every single day. Okay, we ask for spiritual guidance, right? And I keep getting the word. The last few days and this morning, I got it so strong that I had to say is to bring in the Holy Spirit. Now, no matter, this is not about being religious. This is about bringing the Holy Spirit of God, the divine energy of God, the Holy Spirit in to help us be of service and to totally be in alignment with what we're here to do and what we're here to do every single day. Now, in my work, I sometimes jump. Some of you will notice I do jump. I've been in the industry long enough to have lots of skills, and some things I can do standing on my head because I've done it that long, right? I do jump. But I also ask for guidance where I'm supposed to be and how I'm meant to help people. And often, even though I do my business side and I help business owners, right? And I help, people train in modalities. The reality is, and also do inner child work, the reality is at the core of all of them is actually helping people that are here to be light workers. And in some level, we end up doing some sort of, it heals them, it helps them step up into their power. So that's the reality. It all shapes to the same thing, because that's where my core, I've just got other tools and have a level of awareness that can help people take that leap to, and you know, really own their purpose. But the reality is we're getting into a year where there is more of the light warrior needed than the light worker. And there's a balance between that. And I don't mean it's time for like physical fighting or anything like that. I don't mean it like that. I'm not. But what I mean is to withstand the collective fear, to withstand maybe cognitive dissonance and the friction that's around, and the polarities, and maybe things that are going to try and stop the light, is that we need to step into light warrior. Now, I believe there's a lot of positive. This is not about being fearful. This is about getting you prepared, right? And it's not about taking the element of Joan of Arc, of martyrdom. This is about you really owning your light, but also I believe that light also is in your gifts, the gifts that you are amazing at. Not the things that you're mediocre at that you can do, not just the tools. This is not just about tools. This is where people get it wrong, right? People get so engulfed in a tool that they've learned and a technique. Believe me, I've done it. I've spent tens of thousands of pounds in things, and spent maybe full years studying something. It took me, I mean, I've done also things that took me several years to study, right? And then at the end of it, yeah, there's tools I've learned from it, but got so engulfed because of the time and energy that I spent in learning that I felt that that's where my identity was, not where my purpose was. That's not where your purpose is. Yes, of course, if you learn a healing modality, part of your healing is you're a healer. But what I mean is, we're all unique, and we all have a unique flavour to all that, and we all have a unique type of client, a unique level of expertise, knowledge, or whatever, right? And the more that you can find your zone of genius, that thing that you find so easy to do, and you match that up with your skills and gifts and your level of skills and gifts, you are owning your light, because there is no stress or anxiety with that. If you are doing work that is causing you stress, anxiety, or some sort of unhappiness, and you just don't feel it's quite right, you're not in your complete light. There is some sort of distortion, right? And I believe that a lot of people talk about aligning with their client, aligning with, and I think they miss the point. You have to be able to, it's almost like being aligned with yourself, but that's maybe the wrong way to explain it. It's about letting go of more of who you're not, right? It's also starting to recognize more of, who you are and what you really are. And then that's when you own that and you just be that, the light just, that's your expansion, and that makes things easier. When you then do that and you connect every single day and are guided that day and get out of the ego, right? Things get a lot easier. When Joan of Arc came in for me, it was funny because I kept getting this message. Now, interesting, I'll tell you a little story. When I was getting confirmed, I wanted to have my confirmation name as Joan, right, as in Joan of Arc. I don't know, I always had a fascination with Joan of Arc as a child, right? So there's something drawing me to that, right? And I hadn't thought about that for years, and that had just come out the blue. But I remember my mum wasn't really happy because I already had a middle name, so she wanted to use that as my confirmation name. Now, I think I did use Joan as my confirmation name, but I can't remember because there was so much confliction about it. And there is an example where we, as children, and that's why I'm so passionate about child work and archetypal work, is that as children, we actually often, there's things we know better than our parents. Our parents just don't have that awareness to realise. We know intuitively we're more purer and we know what we need, right? Because we're not as indoctrined, right? So even I was quite a sensitive, fearful child, but I knew that that's probably why I needed, but there was an element that was strong and I wanted it. But, you know, we can be so overpowered. That is the whole point. At the moment, you need whatever you are being guided to need to, so that you are not going to be overshadowed by any other teacher, any other belief, other media, even this, because believe me, when we're using this, there's ways that are confusing us. We don't even realize that our minds are being entangled into an addiction when we're on these platforms, right? Now, when you can step into a strong archetype, right, that can help you get more strength, more courage, more light, or more of what you lack, right? Because the reality is we all come in with strong traits, but we also have the shadow. So my strong traits, and I know a lot of you will identify with this, first of all, I'm the nurturer, the caregiver. I also have the alchemist, but also the creator. So the creator comes and then the alchemist for me, right? But to do with the archetype, to do with my personal life experiences, I don't see myself as a physical warrior. So because of that, I may go more soft and very pliable. And this is just me being honest. This is more about my biggest gifts are being that pliability, because I can energetically feel so much that goes on with clients. I know what's going on. I know what's going on in their energy field. I just know things about people. I know things about situation. That's a very, very useful gift, just to know that I can't teach that to someone else. That's something that I have, and I took it for granted for years. I didn't even realize that it was a gift because it was so natural for me, but that's my gift, right? So that ability to feel things, but being that pliable, right? Being that thing also makes me more sensitive. And this is part of so if we look at the light and the shadow and our strengths and our weaknesses, my vulnerabilities, and maybe my shadows often, is other people who have forceful, controlling energy, or even very negative energy, it's like, I've got to watch, because it can really impact. The reality, even though I don't want to put that out there, is I've had a very porous energy field, most of my life. I've been mostly out of my body for a variety of reasons, right? I have a meridian line system that works a wee bit different from other people for a variety of reasons, just the way that structurally to do with my dynamics. Now, those set of circumstances go in my favour for lots of things and help me do what I'm here to do. But also, I have to recognise that there's other elements that makes me that, like all of us, in our child wounding, that I'm not an aggressive person. I'm not always definitely not the most assertive person. So I fall into the rescue and the wounded and that. So me having a strong warrior archetype is a really, and if I can bring that either through Joan of Arc, or I'll give you an example of Hercules, was something that came in recently, and it was quite funny. If we can bring in, and how you do that is you just tap in and you feel the energy of an archetype that may be even the polar opposite of what you are. If you're someone who's really soft, very caring, right, finds it hard to hold your truth because you're a people pleaser, you need something that is going to help you stand in your conviction and stand in your light, right, at the moment. Because the reality is, whether we like it or not, the shadow element is coming up so much, right? And I've done a course with Robert Hall, and he's very much about the love rebel, bringing in the love rebel, right? And there's lots of other archetypes, and depends on what your mixture of archetypes going on, and how much of the wounded child, the victim, the different martyrdom. You may be someone, I've also have clients who have got a strong rebel archetype in them, but actually the rebel archetype is not serving them. So some of them, yeah, the rebel archetype is working for them, and they may be alchemists, they may be sages, but the rebel archetype can help them really expand and break through limited perceptions. The rebel helps people be more adventurous, so they can help bring that energy into the work with the clients. And that's, you know, it's a fantastic energy to be able to be that little bit rebellious. But with someone, particularly if there's a match with the alchemist and the rebel, and maybe another one that's quite, sometimes it can be the leader, or it can be one that again is, what's the word, is but shaking up things. If there's other archetypes that go on that are not, that are all about pushing, what can happen is then they constantly break the rules, they don't have rules for anything, and they don't have structure, and they lose their inner compass. They're reactive. They're constantly reactive. Now, I'm reactive. I'm reactive to people's emotions as an empath. So it's the reactive to the rescue, but there's a lot of people that can be reactive to completely never want to follow any guidance, and even inner guidance. They just want to do things. They're so used to being the rebel. So that's an example where they may need another archetype that's more calm, more a Zen type of kind of archetype that comes in and helps them stabilize and be more mindful of what they're doing, be more in the zone, right, instead of being reactive, right? So there's all sorts of archetypes, but the light warrior, if you can find something archetypal, even if you look at superheroes, right? Some people might want to think, oh, well, Superwoman, right? Okay, and some of even the imagery, the great thing we're lucky today is that the media of visuals and movies and things gives us great, strong visuals. And even if you're not a visual person, the energy, you can feel the energy, the senses tap into, the sounds, the energy of something, the smells, the tastes, something that can give you a strong anchor. And what you're doing is you're anchoring in to an archetype. And the easiest way to explain archetypes are part of our collective, so we can actually all relate to them, right? If you think about the hero, we all know the stories of the hero, and we can relate to aspects of the hero, but we don't always recognise the hero within ourselves, even though there is the hero aspect, okay? We see the mother figure, the caregiver. Now, the mother and the caregiver, most of us actually have that archetype within us as well, no matter if we are a male, female, you know, whatever, because it's that motherly part, that caring part of us, right? And we're all here with a mixture of archetypes with a purpose. But again, some of our archetypes can get a wee bit imbalanced. Some of them step out and are needed, you know, ones are needed at certain times. Sometimes, as I'm talking about, is we need something else just to help. So, excuse me, excuse me. One of the problems that we have to think about is that we're in a situation at the moment that our clients, okay, the people we work with, the groups that we work with, they're going to be shaken to their core about a lot of things, okay? And when other people are shaken to the core, you need to stand in your power. Now, I think it was just before Christmas or during Christmas, I was on a session in it with a healer, Damien one. Damien brought in one of his sessions, and it was, he's staying in Greece at the moment. So basically there was a lot of kind of, I think he brings in a lot of kind of Greek gods and things like that, just the archetype of that into the work he was doing, just to, like, you know, to clear certain things or to bring things. But during the session I got, and it was, you know, I find it very easy because I do a lot of archetype works, and I've studied archetypes for many, many years. But I was like this, all of a sudden it was just boom. And it was more like a Hercules. It wasn't like in a way like a Hulk figure, but it was like Hercules, right? And being someone that is only 4'9.5", right? And yet I've put on quite a lot of weight since I've been housebound, I have to be honest. But I'm still not a big woman, right? I definitely am not a big woman, right? And I've not got I've had people describe, even when I've been very, had fatigue, to say that I'm a bubbly person. I seem to have a lot of vitality, even though I don't sometimes have physical vitality. But I've never had a forceful energy. Okay, I'm not a dominant, a really dominant person. I'm not, that kind of. I suppose I do have a certain amount of leadership skills, but I'm not that kind of really forceful. I think that's the word I'm looking for. But when that came in, I was at a point where I had been falling into the rescue mode again, right? And I was finding that I was starting to attract clients again that were wanting me to fix things, but they were not wanting to take responsibility, and also wanting to get everything free for free, or wanting to charge a certain amount for their own services, but not willing to invest in the value of other people's and see the value. And that can be a big, that's a huge problem I see sometimes in the industry, where people set in their own prices but just don't realise the value, maybe the other services that they really need for the business, and what even, the amount of work or experience and expertise that person has. There can be the ego comes in there, or it can be also fear, or also that it can be, sabotage and behaviours and all sorts of things that come up. But that's something I'm saying. And it was quite good timing, because when Hercules came in, it was like almost, actually, it was funny what I saw visually was it coming in to me to the right hand side, and it was like right in front of me, as if to say, right, come on, right, be firm, stand in your power. And it was like almost I was feeling like everything was shaking, as if it was, this meant business, right? You need to make business. You need to be firm. You need to stand on your power and your strength, and you need to be more solid. So solid, so heavy, and more firm and heavy-handed about this, that you're not going to take any nonsense. And something shifted for me. And every so often, even when I'm talking about it, I'm feeling that shift me on a different energetic level internally, right? And it's, even as I'm talking about it, I actually can feel a little bit of emotion, because there's part of me, and like, because no matter how much inner child work we do, there's always other things. There's part of me, that little child, that little girl who was fearful, that was sensitive, that was the people pleaser, and didn't think that, that it was for everyone else to come first. I came from a family of 9. I was the oldest, so it was like about everybody else's needs first. So no, it's about everybody else first, right? So there's this thing about being firm, being solid, being owning. Okay, so my advice to you is, no matter what is going on in your personal life, your business life, right, no matter what's going to go on in 2021, right, 2021, I believe there is going to be a lot of crusaders on different levels of spirituality, healing, and not just about that, about the way the world is going to shift, the way things are going to be not just revealed, but it's almost like things are going to crack open in a way that people are going to really have to start seeing things differently, but doing things differently. So we're going to need crusaders on all different lines of businesses. And some of you who may be spiritual entrepreneurs that are maybe slightly different will see that there's going to be other opportunities, right? The more that we can bring in a bit of the light warrior in, right, it's harder for other people to impact, to influence us, and to actually overshadow or stop us being on purpose and living our path. Think about Joan of Arc, right? Now, she had a belief, she had what she felt was her calling, what she was being told. And no matter what the original story is, whatever, there's been a lot of different opinions about the real story and what was really the truth that was going on there. But the reality is she had conviction of what she believed, and she had courage, and she followed. Now, adding to that, yes, I think it's really important that if you are following that, you have to every single day meditate and take time out in stillness. Anyone that is helping other people in a spiritual and holistic way, to totally people, you have to have that ability to take time out and to detach yourself from everything else, and to be aligned and to be able to connect with spirit. And I don't mean like just your spirit guides, I mean connect first with God, because also energetically there is so many things coming into people's spirit guides that appears to be pure. It's not always tap into God first, right? And I keep getting this message, and I didn't, and this is not meant as religious, but I'm getting the Holy Spirit. And the more that you open yourself to the Holy Spirit and of living a true spiritual life, okay, and trusting spirit, the Holy Spirit and the purest, highest vibration, and you can tap into that and ask only of God, bring everything only of the highest being, right? Then it gets easier, right? And it's easier to also feel the right archetype that needs. Some of you maybe really have a strong warrior energy. You may need some other archetype. You maybe need more of the mother energy, okay? You may need something else. You may need more of the magical child, innocent child. There is elements, there's so many archetypes. And if this is something that you would like more help with, connect with me, book a one-to-one. I'm doing a special offer in January in 2021 for inner child work. But if this is something that you want to take yourself further, honor who you are, and then get to cultivate a sense of self, that you know yourself so well that, and I don't mean obviously when we can get out of the identity, of course we want to move towards all the time moving out of that identity, but the reality is we're still living we're still in a world that works with certain collective energies, and that's in the collective energies and the way that we show up in the world is there's an archetypal energy, and there's some archetypal energies that are more suitable for certain challenges and situations than others, and I think that's the easiest way to explain it. Okay, so I hope that's helped. And if you are struggling with the big C, the challenges with big tech at the moment, there is so many platforms now. Do not be concerned if you think, oh well, one platform's been shut down or that one's been shut down. A lot of them are getting moved over to different the alternate platforms are going over at the moment. We're in January 2021. A lot of them are having to be moved over to different platforms because of the big censorship, because huge companies are trying to own a lot of these things, and a lot of people have set up their platforms or their websites on space owned by these companies, and they don't like it, so they're having to move. So some may be shut down temporarily and will be reopening. But my advice to you is, for any spiritual businesses, start looking for alternate ways to work. And I'm going to give you one of the things that I use. I use an online platform, and I have a blog about it on the Spiritual Marketing Club, right? And I use Newsendler, right? And if you go to the blog and you use the link, now I do, if you ever go into the paid version, I do get some commission, but this is not just about commission. If you are someone who's serious about running online courses, online memberships in the future, and you want to take baby steps, but you don't have a big budget, or you don't have any budget at the moment, there is a free version of Newsendler and there is a paid version, okay? And you can use my blog to get a link to it, right? Now, for anyone who goes on to the paid version, I give people the opportunity to get a one-to-one. If they go into the paid version, they get a one-to-one with me to just talk about how they're going to, you know, use the platform, and I'm happy to give people advice on that. But the reality is that a lot of people are having problems even storing videos at the moment, and they don't want to put them on YouTube. You can use Newsendler to store your videos and give people links, and you can put them in as courses and memberships and give people free coupon codes if you really want to. So there is options to do that, okay? Again, if any are wanting to, you know, move your business in that direction, that is something, but you'd have to book an actual session, you know, to discuss that. But for all of you who are at the moment maybe in a situation you're thinking, my business changed and I don't know where I'm going at the moment, get back to basics and go back to what you're really great at, okay? Now, we're on about, is this the 12th? This is on the 12th of January. I'm running on Saturday, which is I think it's the 16th, yep. I'm running so it's like a business webinar class, and it's about how to grow and build your business around you. It's actually is part of some of the training extra modules that I do for my students and my stress management relaxation therapy training for students. And I've opened it up to anyone. It's a really low cost offer at the moment, and the reason why is I'm still seeing so many people who have spent so much money and so much training. They've been studying for years, and they have spent this and this coach and that coach, and they still are missing the basics. They're missing a few points, very, very important points to grow their business. Some of them are not using the right business models. Some of them are still not niching. They've not got their niche right, and they're not marketing like the correct niche. So just they've not understood the niching process and how to niche to someone actually wants them, or they're just not, they've got, how could you say, they're focused on the wrong level of what they're offering it. And I'm going to talk about that, how it's really important to get certain things, key things right, and then how I'm going to show you how to grow your business around your skills, your strengths, not your weaknesses. A lot of training skills and even coaching and marketing people are given by people business models. But these business models don't work for everyone for a variety of reasons. If you're a certain archetype, and also if you get a certain skill set, there's going to be some business models that are better for you than others. And yes, some people say, but this is going to make you more money. But if people are not happy or are not offering what they're really here to do, are not in their zone of genius, they can end up losing clients in the long term and actually create problems. And the reality is, no matter what we like it or not, there is millions of coaches, healers and therapists out there, and there is some areas that appear to be more saturated than others, and you want to be able to stand out. And to stand out, it's about you really knowing inside out what you're really here to do and what is the next step forward, and how you can start growing a more natural, organic business, a business that's going to be less stressful and less full of anxiety. So, you know, if you're interested in that, you can book a session with that. But have a beautiful week, and remember, own that light. Ask for guidance every single day, okay? These are all doing amazing work, and these are here to do even more amazing work over the next few years. So it's about time to step up, okay? Bye for now.